years ago, when I was in boarding school in Wales, I called my mom in tears. I had just pulled an all-nighter, I was studying for my IB exams, and I was totally unprepared for my exam in a few hours. I was greeted by silence at the other end of the phone. And then she said, "Salima, you have no right to say that. Just today, I was at the school down the road, and I found out that 3 girls younger than you were impregnated through child prostitution. 2 of them tried to perform their own abortions, and both of them passed away. So you have no right to tell me that you, someone who is privileged enough to go to school every single day, is ready to give up because school is tough." I sat there on the other side, disappointed in myself and ashamed. Ashamed because I was taught to understand that education is a privilege, and here I was complaining. And disappointed in myself that I was complaining about something that is actually a blessing. I was born and grew up beside the Kikambala village on the outskirts of Mombasa, Kenya, where 22,000 people live below the poverty line. One of my very favorite childhood memories, and I'm sure a lot of you have the same, was playing on the beach. Sandcastles, waves, frisbees. These 12-year-old girls make their way down to the beach to sell their young, innocent bodies. The same beach that holds our very favorite childhood memories is a dark, dark place for girls and children all around the world. At this very second, there are 2 million children engaged in child prostitution. Are we okay with that? If every child in the world was in school right now, imagine what changes we would see. We all know that the underlying cause here is poverty. It's pretty simple. If every child was educated, could go to school, could send their children to school, imagine what changes we would see. So I started thinking about ways to make sure that children stayed in school, to make sure that they could study despite their circumstances, to reach my vision of poverty being alleviated at a global level through education. Today, millions of children don't study at night because they don't have access to electricity. Over 1.2 billion people use kerosene lamps as their only source of light after dusk. On average, families living under $1 a day spend 25% of their income on kerosene every month. 25% of income, that's a lot of money. People living under $1 a day use kerosene lamps as their only source of light, and so kerosene lamps are carcinogenic, cause numerous health complications. Their fumes are toxic. When I went home in December and noticed 4-year-old children reading and studying beside the naked flame of a kerosene lamp, I couldn't believe my eyes. Entire communities and villages burn down every year because of kerosene lamps being knocked over. I spoke to a father and he mentioned he can only buy kerosene 3 times a week, which means that his children can only study 3 times a week, and this affects their performance in school. With that logic, I guess they're only performing at 60% of their school week. I honestly didn't know what to do about these issues. I would talk to people and they would say, "Don't worry about it, don't beat yourself up. Just let it be, the idea will come." This didn't seem logical or believable, but I made a conscious effort to stop thinking about it. Last summer, I was sitting at a cafe, studying for one of my exams, not in tears this time, and I was using a FIFA pen with a soccer ball on top because it was during the FIFA World Cup. And I looked at it and thought, wow, why can't the pen be solar powered? And why can't the soccer ball on top be a light? So when kids carry it to school during the day, it charges with the sun, and they can use that light to study at night. I was so excited. I went and spoke to an engineer who blatantly told me that that wouldn't work. Disappointed, I went back to the drawing board, and I started thinking about other similar options within the same realm. I thought about a mobile truck and a mobile library, but I realized that this would pose a security issue, especially if girls had to walk back and forth from it every night. I thought about solar-powered shoes, a solar-powered hat, a solar-powered t-shirt, but none of these seemed like they would work logistically. At one point, I felt that every idea I had was flawed. I wasn't there yet, but I also knew I was getting closer. And then I found it and thought, wow, I think this could work. The solar backpack is exactly what it sounds like, a backpack with a solar panel on it. As kids walk to school every day, they're empowered with a tool that allows them to take control of their own education and study every night. The battery pack in the bag later connects to an LED lamp. and this allows them to study without the use of kerosene. So then I thought, great, I think this could work. But I had to make sure that it worked in context with real people. And it wasn't just a solution that I believed could make a difference. So I went back home to Kenya in December and tested the prototypes. Over there, I held interviews with mothers, families, and the children themselves to see if this was a solution that would actually benefit them. This was extremely valuable to me, especially because human-centered design was something that I was extremely passionate about. I used an entire semester to talk to other social entrepreneurs in the solar sphere. Over 3 months, I realized how much my thought process changed, how much I just changed my opinions of things, and how it is okay to be wrong sometimes. I realized that the most important thing is to be able to react and say, okay, how do we work around this challenge? How do we make the solution better? And as Brene Brown said, there will be critiques. But the biggest critique is yourself. And unless someone else is in the arena, getting their butt kicked like you are, you don't need their criticism. So the next challenge then was actually raising some money. Holy smokes, was that a challenge? I couldn't even decide what a realistic goal was. Was it $50,000? Should I aim for the stars? Will I even be able to raise $1,000? Should I put myself out there in a big way or a small way? And then I realized that it was my fear of putting myself out there that was holding me back. And so I may as well go big or go home. The next morning, I launched a campaign to raise $40,000 to get the first 2,000 pieces on the ground to the Kikambala village. The crowdfunding campaign was a full-time job and came with its own adrenaline rushes and downfalls. For 2 months, I did not sleep. I would wake up 2 to 3 times every night to see if I had gotten any more donations. I would celebrate with every $20 I got. Eventually, with the help of 501 contributors, the campaign managed to raise just over $50,000 in under 2 months. During the entire process, I kept my eyes on the finish line, which was January 19th, 2015. I couldn't wait to sleep. January 20th, I wake up with butterflies in my tummy and think, oh my God, I have $50,000 of people's money. And that wasn't the only concern. Let me tell you about 2 or 3 that occur on an hourly basis. How am I going to measure social impact? How do I ensure this is sustainable? How do I scale this up? This whole process has been somewhat like shooting an arrow, trying to aim for bullseye through the fog. I can see the target. People are telling me it's there. Sometimes I hear the arrow hit the wall, and then the fog starts clearing and the whole process starts again. What I have realized, though, is that no development project is perfect, and there can't be a perfect solution to any problem. Change is incremental. It can't happen overnight. Facing criticism is difficult, and so is getting out there and putting yourself out in the arena. Before I launched the crowdfunding campaign, I couldn't even decide what a realistic goal was. And in that moment, I remembered that I have so many reasons to do this. And my roommate reminded me of one of my favorite quotes. As women, we think of 9 reasons why we should do something, and 1 reason why we shouldn't, and we let that 1 reason stop us. We let 1 reason stop us. We can do better than that. So we have a choice to make. Do we want to be that generation that creates sustainable social change? Or are we okay with just sitting in the sidelines, watching all these social issues happen right in front of our eyes? Because if we do want to be game changers, then we have to do things that have the potential to go either way. No one does anything extraordinary without taking a risk. We all have that one thing we're passionate about, so do something about it. And when you do, don't let anything stop you. So, my vision is that every child in this world will have access to light that not only allows them to study at night, but serves as a lantern that guides them to a brighter future. I believe that education is the most powerful trampoline of progress, and that it is the single most powerful way to break the vicious cycle of poverty. Remember the 2 girls that my mother told me about? That's who this is for.